Well, we're just about a week out from Call of Duty Vanguard. Yet another release of Call of Duty. They've been doing it year after year after year after year after. This is like, I think this is like 13 years since the first one I started playing. I've probably played 3/4 of them. And this one is different. Why? Why is it different? Why is this one different? Well, is it different because Cold War was pretty bad? Really bad, in my opinion? Is it different because we're seeing a Call of Duty that's being built and worked around properly, right? Or is it different because we're going to potentially see an anti-cheat come into play? A lot of questions, right? And I think we're not going to get many answers, and that's kind of how these things go with Activision, with Call of Duty. We don't get a whole lot of answers, and that's unfortunate. But hey, that's just with these big corporations. Honestly, that's just the way it goes. They figure out things in a different aspect than we figure out things, and we have to respect that and just play their games and just see how it goes. You saw how that worked with Cold War last year. It was awful. But I am excited for this year. I do think that this game could be one of the best Call of Duties we've seen. And I think there's a reason for that. There's two reasons for that, actually. And I want to touch on them right now. The number one reason is we are seeing them go back to a 16-map release. The reason why that's important and the reason why that's bigger than some people might think of it, well, let's just go through it, okay? I have a list of all the games that have released since Call of Duty 4, okay? Call of Duty 4 was a tremendous game. That was the game that got me going. That's the game that got me hooked. I was 14. My family and I just moved from a small city to a large city. I had no friends in this city. And I started playing video games online. And it was just starting to get big. Hearing someone in your ears, playing video games with somebody, hearing them talk, it almost like it was weird. It was like, oh my gosh, is somebody talking? Like, it was just the weirdest thing, right? And now you're like, gosh, mute, they're just so irritating. Mute them all. They drive me nuts. And that's just the way it is, right? Call of Duty 4. Let's start with that game. It released with 16 maps. And this is what we're going to see in Vanguard. World at War released with 14 maps. Modern Warfare 2. Gosh, Modern Warfare 2, so good. Released with 16 maps. Black Ops released with 14 maps. Modern Warfare 3 released with 16 maps. Black Ops, you kind of see where I'm going with this, right? We're kind of repeating the same numbers. Is that right? That is right, yeah. Black Ops 2, 15 maps. Ghost, 15 maps. Didn't play it. Advanced Warfare, 13 maps. Didn't play it. Don't ask why I didn't play it. It's just sometimes I just dropped video games for like a year or two. I shouldn't have, because those are actually Ghost. I remember my brother playing it and telling me he loved it. A lot of people didn't like it, but I feel like I would have liked that game. Advanced Warfare, first movement system implemented into Call of Duty. A very played game. I remember that. Black Ops 3, 12 maps. That's a pretty big drop off. From 13, Advanced Warfare, 15 before that, 15, 14 and 15, we're seeing that. Advanced Warfare kind of a drop off with 13, but then we saw 12 with Black Ops 3. That seems like not very much, right? Infinite Warfare, 12. World War 2. I actually loved that game. That game was almost hated. 9. Black Ops 4. The movement in that game took Advanced Warfare movement on steroids and smoothed it out. I thought it was very, very good. 14 maps in Black Ops 4. The Modern Warfare. Going back to Modern Warfare. The latest one. 10 maps. Not very many, right? 10 maps. And then we have Cold War with a lousy 8 maps, and none of them being very good. Now we have Vanguard back to 16 maps. That's the reason why this is a bigger deal than it might seem, because we've seen this. We've seen 14, 15, 16, and we're seeing 16 maps come back. It's important. I really do think it is, because the creators have the staff, they have the creativity, they have the resources to put together a game that's a full game. And that excites me. Okay, that excites me coming from playing 3/4 of those games I just numbered, and Cold War being my least favorite. Not even close. Like, there's nothing even close. I didn't even play a few of them because for whatever reason, that stage of my life, I wasn't playing video games at all. It just takes the cake for how unfortunate that year was for the Call of Duty franchise. Luckily, the Call of Duty franchise had Warzone, because if they didn't have Warzone, think about how much the franchise would have plummeted. And I understand They say that Cold War was the most purchased game out of all games. Okay, and I think it would be this past year. Was it the most played game? If we get into those numbers, I don't think that that's the case. Now with Vanguard, I think it's going to bring that multiplayer side back into a high played game. I really do. Is that a word? A high played game? A highly played game. That makes more sense. I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see Vanguard really take over, and it's because they're putting in the work and playing the beta. You can really feel it. Right, the maps, even in the beta, they feel very, very good. With the maps itself, there was a lot of problems in the beta. I've touched on that. But the maps actually felt pretty good, except for Eagle's Nest. That map can burn and die, okay? Eagle's Nest is awful. Hate that map. And Hotel, what's this map called? Hotel, I'm looking it up. I'm glad I forgot it, actually. Hotel Royale? Yeah, Hotel. That map can also burn and die. Okay, those maps are terrible. I think everyone can. I have one friend who enjoys those maps. Okay, and I love the guy to death. But screw off. Those maps are god awful. Okay, those maps can go away. But we have, and Castle being guaranteed for the Castle from World at War. Are you out of your mind? That map is amazing. So we're gonna see 16 maps come in, and I think that's gonna. Let me just fix my womanly headband here. I think we're going to see a lot of good come out of the launch of this game. Okay, we'll see how it plays out now. Well, let's touch more on that. That's number 2. If you think back and you try to recall times where you're promised something by the creators of Call of Duty, they're usually pretty good at guaranteeing that, right? Usually. Let's just like generalize it. There's obviously scenarios and examples where that's not the case. But my concern for this is anti-cheat, right? Ricochet coming to Vanguard. I don't know if we're gonna see it, because if you just dig deeper, I'm gonna be referring to a lot of articles that I've done a little bit of research on, and I'm gonna take them below. One of them being Games Radar. There's a really good article on Games Radar. Another one being the actual Activision website, and then the third one being callofduty.fandom.com, which basically is just going to give you the history of all the Call of Duties. You can look through the maps, look through the equipment. It's actually very cool if you like the history. I love stuff like that. So I'm going to take those below. You can kind of refer to those if you want further information. Again, I'm just going to be dumbing everything down and summarizing. But if you don't know how Ricochet works, I know a lot of people have touched on this in their videos and whatnot, but basically it's going to be a driver installed. You can download this driver. It's going to be installed on your computer, and your game, Warzone, will not be playable unless you have this driver installed. Okay? People have already asked, if I try to uninstall this driver, can I still play? First off, you're a moron for even asking that. Why are you asking if you can uninstall the thing that's making the game playable to keep the cheaters out to play the game? Like, are you brain dead? You're just pretty much asking for them to ban your account if you're the person asking that, right? But that's how Ricochet is going to work. So you're only going to see it affect PC in the start, and there's no guarantee that console is going to see it in the near future. They have not specified. I think that they're having, realistically, if you think about it, they're probably having trouble, because if it's a driver installed for a PC and a software that's being required for you to play the game on your PC, how are they going to implement that into consoles? Just think about that. It's going to be challenging, right? There's ways to do it, I'm sure, but I think they're just figuring it out still. I don't think we're going to see it. Honestly, I'd be surprised if we don't see it to the fall of next year, which, if that's the case, they're just going to be implementing it for the next Call of Duty. So it's just like, okay, well, what's the whole freaking point of this Ricochet thing? We're going to see it in Warzone, right? And they've guaranteed that if you're a console player, you are going to be able to experience Ricochet. Why? How am I going to experience Ricochet if I'm a console player, if it's only be effective for the PC in the start? Let me explain to you. One of the most commonly asked questions in this article, and again, I'll link this below, number 14. Will Ricochet anti-cheat be available on consoles? Pretty straightforward question, right? While the kernel driver, and now the kernel driver, that's the software that's going to be used, the driver that's going to be used for Warzone. When you download it on your PC, it's called a kernel driver. While the kernel driver, which is only a part of Ricochet anti-cheat, will release to PC, by extension, console players playing via Crossplay. All right? So if you're playing via Crossplay, you're going to experience this. How? Playing via Crossplay against players on PC will also stand to benefit. So you will only experience it because you're playing against these on PC because their PCs have this kernel driver in there, okay? So if you go ahead and shut your crossplay off, anti-cheat's basically off. So you're going from playing and experiencing this only because you're playing against people who have the driver installed. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I've played with my console and I played Cold War and I played that, I shut crossplay off. Because just like, you know what, whether there's an unfair advantage for PC players and console players to play against each other or not, whether you think that, that's just kind of a debate that's out there, take that away, okay? You can shut crossplay off. I would just avoid it at all costs when I was playing on console. But I have friends on both. That's where it gets challenging. I have friends on Xbox, I have friends on PC, so I want to play crossplay. The thing is, if you shut crossplay off, you're not playing against console players, you're playing against Xbox players or PlayStation 5, whatever you're using. I have a PlayStation 5, so I'm only going to play against PlayStation 5 players. I can't still play with my friends. So you basically lose the entire advantage of experiencing crossplay to play with your friends for the simple fact that, so basically if you want to shut crossplay off, right? And this is what a lot of people do. They shut crossplay off because they don't want to experience playing against cheaters, a better chance of playing against cheaters, right? Because the PC players are out there, the Xbox players are out there. So if you go ahead and shut your crossplay off, you're cutting off that stream of players coming in from Xbox and PC, and you're only going to experience PlayStation 5 players, which is basically going to narrow down the chance of you running into cheaters. It is. But if you turn that on, you can play with Xbox players, you can play with PC players, but you'll experience it only because the PC players have the drivers installed. Are we really experiencing a fair game, or is it just a kind of a manipulation of words, right? And this is where I think this is a kind of a long answer, right? In this second part, the map's being pretty short and quick, but this is an in-depth answer because we don't know when we're going to experience Ricochet in Vanguard. We don't know when we're going to experience Ricochet in Warzone as console players. I have the luxury of being able to play Warzone on my PC, but a lot of people don't have that. And I think that this is make or break for the game because they're working on it, right? We know that. That's great. They're working on it. But what is the drop off of players in the first 6 months of the game? It's pretty big. I would say it's probably 40 to 60% who play the game in the first 3 to 6 months drop off after 6 months. That's just fair to say. That's probably a generous number. It's probably maybe even a little bit more. But if anti-cheat is not implemented, and that's going to be what's making people hang around a lot longer, that's what's going to make or break this game. This could be the best Call of Duty to date because of anti-cheat. But if anti-cheat is not implemented, it could literally be the worst Call of Duty and the end of Call of Duty because cheating is getting that bad. Now, is it going to end Call of Duty? Of course not. But is it going to end it for me? Is it going to end it for a lot of people who are just sick and tired of it, who don't get hours and hours and hours to spend on their consoles and on their PCs to play video games every single night? I'm going to want to spend my time doing other things, playing other games, and a lot of people are going to look at it that way. So I'm really hoping that we see anti-cheat and Ricochet come into play for consoles, for Vanguard and for Warzone, because I think, more importantly for Warzone, because within multiplayer Call of Duties, I don't really complain too much about cheaters, but in Warzone, it is infested. So I'm just hoping and believing that we'll see it in Warzone, and that's why it could be make or break this year for the franchise, because they've implemented it, but are they going to implement it for the majority of players being console players? And that we will have to wait and see. I'm believing that we'll see that in the next 3 to 4 or 5 months, but unfortunately, if they don't have a date set for it, it's not looking good. That's all I'll say, but I am hopeful. So I'll be out there playing with you guys anyway. I am looking forward to the games this year, opposed to last year for sure. And I think that we can just continue to be hopeful and just really believe that Activision and all the companies involved are going to provide us with updates and information on this Ricochet coming to console. That's what I'm hoping for. So I appreciate you guys spending time watching today's video. I think going forward, I'm going to really be paying close attention to this software coming into play for consoles. And I'll bring you guys the information as fast as it comes, and we'll continue to talk about it and converse about it and make or break for Call of Duty franchise, and let's see what they can get done. Appreciate you guys watching today's video, and we will catch you in the next one. Take care.